We're so excited that you've joined us for today's live stream presented by RVTravel.com. Today's program will begin shortly. While we allow some time for others to join, we want to take care of a few housekeeping items. Everything presented in this live stream is true to the very best of our knowledge and experience, but we are human. Occasionally, we might be wrong. We don't want you spending thousands of dollars simply because we said something was good or fixing something according to what we suggested. Do your research, check your owner's manual, and seek assistance from your vetted and trustworthy certified RV technician.
So during our live stream, it's only going to get better if you participate. We'd love to hear from YOU. So while you're tuning into the show, please let us know what kind of rig you have, where you currently reside, if you're a part-timer, if you're a full-timer, and most importantly, what technical questions can we help you with? Feel free to submit your questions throughout the show. You can even start that right now.
During today's live stream, we may show you what we like to call cool tools. These are tools and gadgets that we actually use and we believe will be helpful to you. If you are interested in learning more about these products, please see the YouTube description box for more information.
During today's live stream, we will be doing a giveaway. To be included in the drawing, be sure to include a hashtag on the screen in your comments during the live stream. So let's get started.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of RV Talkin Tech. I'm Zach, and this is Dustin, and we're from California RV Specialist. I almost said specialties because I'm used to Dave saying specialties.
Yeah, he's always messing it up.
Dave is running a little bit behind. He will be with us shortly, so there's a couple things that we want to go over. Number one, as you guys saw in the intro, make sure you're getting your hashtags in early for this radio. Not only does it play music and it's solar powered and all that good stuff, but Chuck will come and crank it for you in the rain, and you can listen to it out on the patio. It'll be very nice. And while we're playing the waiting game, waiting for Dave to come over, we're going to do things a little backwards today. We're actually going to start with a cool tool. So that way we can have you guys go ahead and comment in, give us the information on what units you have, start asking your questions and getting that thing going. I'm seeing all the hashtag radios coming in, so get them in. All right. So one thing that I wanted to kind of show here, this is actually me demonstrating what a customer had done. He brought in a 6-volt battery, carrying the battery in, and I was just talking to him about pulling the battery in and out. And as you can see here, for the 6 volts in specific, they don't have a strap. They're a major pain in the butt. They actually make a battery strap that is designed to hook in those loops so you can pull that battery in and out of there and carry it a lot easier than just holding that big battery. Those things are heavy.
68 pounds.
Yeah, they're heavy. A lot of people you'll see actually like an old backyard way of doing it was using a bungee cord. But they'll come back and snap your hand. I've done that. It'd come back and hit me. So if you're working on 6 volts, especially on Class A motorhomes where they're tucked back in compartments and stuff, very useful. And here's Dave.
Hello, everybody.
So filling you in a little bit, we actually started backwards today with cool tools.
Nope, we can't hear you.
Well, while he's taking care of his technical difficulties here, do you want to start on your cool tool?
Yeah, sure. All right, so my cool tool today is, I figured since Zach was talking about batteries, so many people forget to go out and check the water level on the battery. So what this cool tool is, it's a battery filler, and that end is it plungers down, and what it will do is you fill that bottle up with distilled water, put your cap back on it, and B-roll, bam, plug it in the hole, push it down until it stops, pull it up. Continue the same thing on any battery that's a maintenanceable battery, and it's going to bring the water level up to a certain distance from the top, so that way you're not overfilling the battery, and it's just easy to get into. So many times the batteries will go into the compartments and the batteries are so hard to get to, or there's cables in the way. Well, that gives you something to manipulate it and get it down in there to fill it up.
Yeah.
Dave, you're back. Can we hear you? We still can't hear you.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start with some comments here. Yep. We got Timothy with hashtag radio. Make sure you're getting those in to win that radio. Ken, welcome. Hello, hashtag radio. Sure to rain, hashtag radio. And it looks like Britt is back from Georgia, hashtag radio. Jeff is also back. Howdy, howdy. Bill, we got hashtag radio. And Jeff, hashtag radio. Make sure you're getting them in. All right. Timothy Johnson states, thanks for the advice about my toilet last week. I greased up everything and it seems to not be leaking yet. We'll play with it this weekend. Thanks for advice. Absolutely. That's what we're here for, right? That's as we say, that's what they pay us for.
Can you hear me now, guys?
I got you.
Can.
There we go. All right. I've been gone for 8 days and somebody unplugged my microphone, I guess, when they were moving stuff around. So. Oh, okay. All right. What was I saw the cool tool was a battery filler.
Battery filler, and we did a battery strap too before you got here.
Okay. All right. I have somewhere here, I've got the little turkey baster.
Yeah, those work too. Yep.
All right. So cool. All right. Well, it's good to be back here and not have all the traffic of Orlando. I tell you what, I took a vacation down to Orlando, and it was an absolute commercial for why you should buy an RV. It was. I could not take my dog, which we inherited a little a rat terrier or Jack Russell Terrier / Dachshund. We couldn't take him, so he had to go to my stepdaughter's, and he just whined the whole time there. And then horrible flight, kids knocking on the security, knocking on the back of the seat, and cost a fortune for food, and then getting down there. And man, I tell you what, I needed an RV.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we at?
Mark C.
Mark C.
says, I have a dilemma. I have a 2021 Cougar 24 RDS fifth wheel that has delamination below the awning. Keystone has agreed to repair it or compensate us for it. It's not a dilemma yet, right? Yeah. What else we got?
Well, I suppose his dilemma is, should he get it repaired or should he get compensation for it, get some money for it?
Yeah, it looks like he put some more stuff on there. We're going to jump to that.
Maybe Mark, send us a picture of it on RV Repair Tips, what's in the shop, so we can see, and then we can try to help advise you too.
Yeah. In order to repair it, they're going to replace the entire right side wall.
Oh, wow.
The compensation they offered us was $3,500.
No, let them replace the wall.
I feel that $3,500 to cover.
You will fight that. You will fight that for the rest of the life of that RV if you don't get that fixed.
Yep. If they're going to reskin that thing, let them reskin it.
Let them do it.
Yeah,
exactly. You can't reskin it for $3,500 in most cases. I know you can't, and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely, because you will reskin that eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
I talked to the dealer.
Yeah, talk to the dealer. RV techs at the dealer and an auto body guy that has tried to repair delamination before. They all say that a Keystone will repair it, then let them repair it. What is your opinion? 100%. Yeah, let them reskin that side for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if it's a vacuum bonded wall, they're going to have to either replace the whole wall, or they're going to do, like you said, they're going to reskin the wall, but they're still going to have to cut out and remove whatever's delaminated from it.
Yeah. So, well, and I would imagine if it's right underneath the awning, they didn't seal when they put the normally what they do is that during production they'll put a drip rail, this awning rail right here goes the entire length at the top, and that's usually standard.
Yeah,
as a rail and a drip rail and everything. This is a Winnebago, so it's normally tucked in like this. There we go. So your awning fabric goes in here, but as you saw, you've got a series of
screws
in there, and I'm sure that they did not put butyl tape and they did not seal it well enough. Moisture got in there and started coming down and then delaminated. And but you should be able to reskin that. I've seen. I haven't done it myself, but I've been over to customer service at Winnebago many times where they had the whole sidewall off. And they don't vacuum bond, but they pinch roll on each step, and it does the same thing. It's applying pressure. Each layer of those things. So when they pull it out, if it's a 2021, I think he said, I would.
Or it could just been a defect when they manufactured it and glue failed, or the glue.
I'm interested to know, Mark, when they talked to you about it, did they state, hey, we're going to compensate you or find a repair shop that's going to do it for you and we'll cover it? Or are they taking the coach back to the factory and repairing it? Just curious,
Yeah, I'd rather take it back to the factory.
100%.
That's what I've seen in most cases when a manufacturer offers to do a reskin, unless there's some great dealers out there that can do it as well, rather than traveling 2,000 miles or whatever it is to get it back there. So
a lot of time when we add like side out toppers, Dave, we won't use a butyl tape or a putty tape. We'll actually just use clear silicone.
Okay.
Just because we found that, as that tape bleeds out and runs down in the temperatures that we get here, that's and trim, and then it makes voids and gaps in the back. So if they're not on top of it, if they're not sealing it regularly or checking that rail regularly. So if you are watching and you're thinking about your awnings, your side out toppers, go out and check that rail, crawl up on the roof, crawl up on a ladder, look at how that rail is mounted to the wall, grab it, see if it moves. And if it moves, make sure you seal the top edge, but make sure you tighten up the screws. And don't be afraid of adding additional screws. They're pre-drilled every 6 inches, but you can add additional screws if you need to, or if you have screws that are let loose, you can always add a, what do they call those again?
Like rivets.
Not the rivets, but the Oscar rivets, or the
Trifold
rivets.
Yep.
So
spiders. We used to get togglers.
Yeah.
The toggler style that. Yep.
Yeah. Trifold, I think, is what they call them now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tom has a good question here. Will RO water work to fill lead acid batteries, or do you have to use sulfated? And when he says RO, he's saying reverse osmosis water. So
that I don't know. I've always just used distilled water.
Yeah, and I think reverse osmosis is basically taking all the minerals and stuff.
But they're using salt though with that. So
are they using salt? I don't think that's soft water. Not reverse osmosis isn't salt is from what I understand. I get reverse osmosis out of the local grocery store for coffee because I don't like soft water. I don't like the salt in soft water.
Yeah.
And ours is pretty heavy concentrated here. And I think it's always say you should use distilled water. How many of us have used just regular tap water in a pinch?
Water.
Yeah. And the thing about batteries is kind of like tires. You don't know what caused your battery to go bad or what caused your tire to lose air, because it probably was something way down the line. And so I have never researched reverse osmosis. I think that's probably something we should do a little bit of digging into and find out what minerals will what's the difference between the two. I don't know. I just know that as little water as you'd normally need in a battery. It's I can go down right now at our local grocery store, and even Walmart carries distilled water for 89 cents a gallon.
Yeah, a gallon. Yep.
And that gallon will last me a year.
Yeah.
Maybe more. If you have 6-volt batteries, you probably a little more. So I guess my recommendation would probably be not to chance it.
To chance it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dave, our hashtag for the day is radio.
I see that.
If you don't forget, everybody put your hashtags in. We're giving away one of the weather radios.
Oh, cool. I gotta get mine.
There you go.
I came from Orlando. I had shorts on. my crank up, solar.
Yep.
It even has a charger for
Cell phone, I think, too.
cell phone.
Well, yours is a little bit fancier than the one that
And this one,
they all work.
this one's an Eaton, and I think this one only cost me like $29.95.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fairly inexpensive. The only thing that I don't really care for, and I guess it doesn't last long. The battery doesn't last long. So I charge it up with solar, or you can charge it. It's got a little charge plug somewhere in the back here. You can charge it up, but it doesn't seem to last very long. But again, it's an emergency one. So
Yeah.
I think, the idea is that you leave it out in the sun and just let it keep solar charging. It'll last a lot longer. So, hey, Snoopy's back with us. I see he is here. Any word on the Go Power? And Snoopy, I did not get a chance to talk to him. In fact, I just flew in just now to get into here flew into the airport, and man, are my arms tired. I had to do that. I'm sorry. I have not had any word on a GoPro. Last week we talked about he's got two different Go Power solar panels that he wanted to do something different with. Hook them in parallel. See if that will work. So I got to get out of vacation hot tub mode, kid mode. I mean, we went to Orlando, and it's where all the kids.
We're always asking, "Where's your next vacation? Take us with you."
Yes. Okay. So Terry says RO does not use salt. That's what I thought.
Okay.
Because it does have the two canisters that do something different. That it's a membrane that only lets the smallest particle through the filter, kind of like what my Clear Source stuff does here as well. But I know there's a little more to it, because I do know that when I was running a company that we had a power washer we would permanently mount in a fast food restaurants, and then it was electric, so we'd plumb it out like a kind of like a central vac. And these restaurants running RO water, they have to dump 1 gallon of water for every gallon or 2 gallons of RO water that they make.
Oh.
And which I thought was kind of ironic. But the guy asked me, he said, "Can we take the dump water basically and use it, store it instead of running it down the drain? Can we store it?" And he kind of gave me the procedure that they do with that stuff. So I know I was pretty sure it wasn't salt. So anyway. Terry also says Southern California just came back from Quartzsite, purchased the MoRide safety rail, outstanding product. Also the MoRide extension handle for entry door. Do you guys carry that?
Yeah. So we don't carry them in stock. We can order them. They are getting more popular. I think a lot of people are really enjoying any of those kind of extension handles, or sometimes the steps are hit and miss, the fold out like step aboves and things like that, but people love the extension handles off of those. But yeah, we can definitely order them for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, I saw the Blue Ox posted a article, or not an article, thing on their Facebook page that they were at your facility. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Yep.
The Blue Ox trailer, and they had it on Facebook. And but was that you, Zach, in the picture?
That was I.
I caught him right as he was trying to
No hat.
shake hands.
Yeah, no hat.
Okay, I saw that. Cool. All right. So Blue Ox have been around for many, many years.
And almost 100 years.
Wow.
We're getting ready to celebrate 100 years.
So I see here, how effective are sumo springs and sway bars? Do sprinters have front sway bars? So you guys put sumo on, don't you?
Yep, and sway bars. They're very effective for what they are, but it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Yep.
Now, I can't tell you 100% on the front sway bars for those Sprinter chassis. I do know that we did. I had a customer who came in and he wanted sumos and sway on the back, as well as a steering stabilizer. And at that time, there wasn't the steering stabilizer that he wanted for the front of that thing. But I do know Sumo Springs, they do make an insert for the front coils on those.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely, they're well worth it. A lot of those Sprinters, they get a big wallow. Sway bar is going to help take care of that. Sumo Springs is going to help take care of that.
Well, Dustin, didn't you say that you got an email from the president of Sumo, that they're standard now on
Yeah.
a variety of different.
They were. I don't have the actual info right now on me, but they were saying that they had really presented it to all the manufacturers, and a lot of them were all going on board with it. So they're going to start coming out with them pre-equipped on the units.
Yeah.
Yep. One thing I do have to say though is that
lifetime warranty.
The Sumo springs, the stabilizing bars, none of that stuff will do any good if you have a chassis issue to start with. And a classic example is Carol, who is our resident vet for RVTravel.com, bought a 39-foot Newmar on a gas F53 chassis, and she put Sumo and just piled tons of stuff on it, and she didn't notice much of a difference. And I think and she's still working through a lot of issues in that, but we've always said that if you got handling issues with an RV gas chassis, especially, number one, you're not going to make a gas chassis drive like a diesel pusher. You're still driving a billboard down the road. Yep. That's reality of it. I got a good friend that's got this 2015 Thor Challenger, and it's a 37 footer, but it's 37 feet, 27 inches. Somehow that's how they designate it. And I brought it up here, and it's all over the road, and I'm just like, Terry, man, how do you drive this thing? He says, I go 15 miles to my favorite little spot where my brother has his fifth wheel, and I'm not spending 10 grand just to go 15 miles. That's like, so that is a good point. How much driving are you doing, and what will you accept? And I still look at those F53 chassis and think, man, if you're going over 35 feet and you want to pull something behind it and you're going to put a whole lot of miles on the road, man, I'd look at a diesel, or get liquid springs or Sumo and stuff like that. But you've got to make sure your leaf springs are up, certified, not certified, but they're in good working condition, that your shock absorbers, all that stuff has got to be up to spec before you start throwing Band-Aids on it, but they are effective.
And it's expectation versus reality, regardless of the kind of unit that you have. It's not going to drive like a Cadillac.
No.
And you have to understand that any of the stuff that you are doing is an attempt to help. It's not going to be the end all be all. This thing's forever going to drive perfect now, Yep.
So Terry, love those products. I have them. Oh, okay.
He's talking about the extension handle stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a good one. Saw your article on cat straps. Sounds very good. Anyone have a cat stolen with the cat strap on? Now, I have had a couple dogs taken, but I haven't. No. Go ahead. Your article. Go ahead and talk about that.
So basically, what I did, Dave, is I created a website page for our website, and then I posted a link to it today. And I had a lot of feedback from people that were kind of negative about it. Like, oh, I can use my diamond blade and cut through that, or I can use some snips. I said, good luck. I said, just my rebuttal back to it was, we buy house alarms, we buy car alarms. Those are deterrents. That's not going to stop them from stealing it. They look underneath there and they see that bright orange band. And some people were asking, how did that band adhere? Well, they were like, oh, we'll just cut those little silver straps you put on. They were thinking they were silver tie straps. That cat strap almost has like a JB Weld type product on it. So when that pipe heats up, it glues to it. It's not coming off. Yep. And it's some kind of like a fibered material that's heat resistant that also has like metal fibers in it with 3 metal rods in it. So when they're trying to cut it with the Zaza, those rods are oscillating back and forth, ruining the blade. I really like them. I think like a friend of mine named Dan Brown, he took his grandson to Kohl's to go do some school shopping. He said he was in and out of there in less than 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes, they got his vehicle. So he says they go out there, because he replied back to me before I even posted this article. He said, hey, I went in there, I came out, started my vehicle. Whoa, what the heck's going on? Immediately shut it off, popped the hood, crawled underneath. My Cadillac converter's been stolen.
Yep.
So now he can't drive the vehicle. He called the police, had to wait for the police to show up. He had to call a tow truck, find some place to tow it to, go get a rental car because it was his only vehicle. Then they had his vehicle for several weeks because they couldn't get the catalytic converter. So just the whole process versus paying for something as a protection device.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're right. It's a deterrent.
It's just the process. There was a customer we have, I don't remember his name, Warren Rickford, right? Yeah. He waited 9 months. No, he waited 9 months for a catalytic converter. He had an appointment here with us, and he kept having to call and cancel it because his unit was sitting at an exhaust shop waiting for it to arrive so they could put it on.
They also offer that cat eye too. At the end of the day, that's all it is. If somebody wants to take something, it doesn't matter what you do, they're going to take it. But they're going to take one strap and they're going to move to the next guys. They offer that cat eye.
It's like a lot of deterrents that if somebody looks at it, they're looking to get in and out in a couple minutes.
Yep.
If they have the procedure, and if there's something on there that adds to the time that it takes them to do that, there's 100 other units that can get it in. But if you sell a ton of these things, these cat straps, would that be like a cat strap fever?
It would.
Yeah. Hey, our shop truck. Our shop truck's got 2 catalytic converters, and they were stolen.
Yeah.
And it was $2,000.
Yep.
And it was an older truck. So we had one time we had somebody break in here. Was that 3 years ago? I think they cut the fence and came in, and they only got 2 catalytic converters. But when they came in when it was all foggy, so none of our cameras or sensors could pick them up. Yeah. But it happens.
Yeah. Gentlemen, don't you wish that some of these computer hackers and the thieves that are out there that are so smart in the way they steal things, wouldn't that be great if they were to work on curing cancer or something good? I mean, they do such a good job in some of this stuff. It's like, man, but I guess that probably doesn't pay. So here's a question that comes up a lot on trailers on, suspension. What about sumo spring for trailers? Is it worth it?
I like them myself.
Before I give my opinion, what do you think about them? Or do you have an opinion on them?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of them because, again, I'm kind of in motorhome country here. Yeah. Even though Winnebago has picked up, and we've done a lot of trailer work, and I had 3 trailers that we put 100,000 miles on each one of the trailers. And, the main thing that we did with those, and granted, those were 6,000 to 10,000 pound trailers. They weren't, but that still kind of falls in the mid range of RV trailers.
And you can put that on anything, though.
Oh yeah, but our biggest thing was that number one is to get a good axle on the trailers. The first few trailers we bought had very poor axles on it, and so we swapped them out, put Lipperts on them actually, Dexter on one set, Lipperts on the other ones. But then we went in and put in the MORryde, what's it called, in between the two, the torsion shackle thing. And that made a big difference. But, the thing that I kept looking at is that you don't really notice it as much because if you've got a good equalizing hitch and on there, you're not riding in that trailer and you don't feel it bouncing around. You may come in and have Mr. Peabody's closet after you go 1,000 miles. But
if you watch them in actuation, like after installing them and moving the coach around the yard and people towing them and stuff, you see them physically working. They're doing what they are designed to do. They're basically like a progressive bump stop for the straight axles that are under that. But when it comes to customer feedback, I don't get nearly as much drastic feedback as I do for cars and motorhomes. They come in and they're like, on my pickup truck, this is amazing. Yeah. They come in on the trailer and they're like, yeah, I can tell, but it's not like that big of a difference where if we're doing like a Compartment system or something like that, where people come back and they're like, that's day and night.
Yeah. Well, I think
so let me ask you this. Bill Plemons RV out in North Carolina developed a kind of like a sumo spring for truck back leaf springs. Have you seen that?
What's the company?
Well, it's Plemons RV, and I don't know if he has put it. I saw it 2 years ago. He had it out at the North Carolina shows, and it's basically a support bracket that goes onto the leaf spring, and it will take the sway out of a truck, which will he claims takes the sway out of a trailer on the backside, and you know, and a lot of problems that I see, you know, like I've got a half-ton pickup that's supposed to be able to pull 11,000 pounds.
Slipper spring makes something like that too.
Okay, that's probably the same design in it, but you know, I mean,
it makes super spring.
I am so disappointed in my truck. It's a 2016 1500. It doesn't have the Z71 package, so that's part of the problem. But it is just, you know, I mean, I can feel it all over the road, just swing, because it's made for comfort.
Yeah,
you know, it's not a work truck. It's you know, it's kind of like a hobby farm truck.
To answer Bill's question, think of it, to dumb it down, it's basically putting that in instead of a shock. Right? So it's resting on the spring shackle itself, depending on if it's over or under the axle. It's resting between the surface of the spring shock or the shackle plate and resting on the frame in between. So it's absorbing all that. It's reducing the interior vibration of the coach and the shaking of the coach, which, like he said, a lot of customers don't call back and say, hey, I got the feedback. But when we explain it to them, you know, all the slide out issues that we have, all the things that shake and rattle in the coach and fascias that fall off and things that are shaking and falling off or causing damage like the awnings and whatnot, that's helping the jarring of the coach.
Yeah, leaf springs and all that stuff, it's spring steel. You know, they're designed to take a load and they snap back, right? And it's pushing equal and opposite force through the equalizer into the other axle. That's why they kind of pivot back and forth. And if you can put anything in there, it doesn't really matter, to help compensate that snap back. That's what these are designed to do. You know.
So whether you go with like the Dexter Easy Flex system, we always try to do like a Dexter Easy Flex system as well with like the super springs, or unless we're going to like the Comfort Ride system that's by Roadmaster, you know, something that's preventing the coach, that's reducing the basically the G forces and the shaking of it. So I think they're well worth it. They're cheap, they're easy to put on, lifetime guarantee. There's no maintenance to them. There's nothing you have to do to them. It told me not to cut one. I was going to cut one here a while back and put one in because I was too tight, and we ended up doing a different route. But
basically, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, and not sure about this. What's it?
Oh, because he said shackle plate, he meant tie plate, where the U-bolts come together. Yeah.
Oh, yep. Okay. So then back at the catalytic converter, Marcia said that stealing a catalytic converter is a federal offense. I think it's right now it's illegal anyway, whether it's, you know, whatever the levels are.
We're just going to lock them up.
Between Dustin and Zach, do you know what the levels of criminal activity are?
You know, and at the end of the day, these people who are stealing these cats and taking them and stripping them out and having them stripped and turning the products in for money and blah, 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 it's not going to matter whether they have a VIN on it or not. The same people are going to illegally do it anyways and just illegally strip them out. So,
well, most of the time they're taking those out. You know, that may not be a federal offense to take a catalytic converter. I mean, it's illegal to do it, but what they're getting the money for probably is a federal offense. Yeah. So I don't think that's going to deter.
Yeah,
because they're doing it to get money to buy something. So
they hit a local dealership here in town, Dave, and took like 53 trucks.
Wow.
They got them all within like an hour. And, you know, they went back, and that's a loss to the dealership. I mean, they turned in insurance, but they went back and they started spray painting like a high color spray paint or high heat spray paint on the catalytic converters. And then the police department started going down and etching the license plate or the VIN number on them. Yep. But sandpaper, grinder, or even over time it's going to rust. So
you guys are in a big city. You know, that's the thing here is that you know, we're in a small town and we don't see much of that happening. We got 30,000 people in 10 miles from us. We're at 8,000 here, but you know, all the scrap yards, and there's not that many. You know, they see activity, they see somebody coming in with a ton of stuff, and they work with the police, you know, which is kind of nice. And I wish there was more of that out in the areas, because we used to say we never locked our cars except when it was zucchini season, because your neighbor would fill your car up with zucchini because you always had too much to do it. So, but we have rush minute traffic here.
Yeah.
That's between Stockton and Sacramento. So, we're the small guy in between. So they'll try to come and do whatever they want to do to our town.
We're in between 1937 and 1985 here. We're just we're still way behind.
So Terry says, do you recommend cat strap with or without alarm? I have a 19 Ram 3500 long bed. Would the cat strap 12-inch long be the proper product for my truck?
12 feet. Measure underneath.
Yeah, you have to actually measure out to pick the different strap. Yeah. And the alarm's just going to be an additional deterrent. You have to turn it on and off, but it's basically when it's on, it's a motion alarm. So they get underneath of there, and that thing is like blaring loud, like ear busting loud.
So if they shake the vehicle, it's going to go off.
So
but is it like the car alarm? Because I'm the only one that sets off my car alarm.
Yeah.
Well, if you forget,
and they make two versions of that too. They make two versions of that too, Charlie. They make an actual push button switch or like a key fob.
Yep.
You probably have a car alarm already, or if not, I myself, when we wrote it up to like, if somebody calls in and wants to install it, I'm not really going to go the route with, hey, let's sell them the audible alarm. I would say just put the strap on, and anybody can do it. It's super simple and easy. It's just a matter of getting it on there,
Yep. Okay, so we've got Krista's from Arizona. She's got non-slam baggage doors. Works fine in warm weather. When it gets cold, it won't stay open on the magnet. Feels slight resistance when opening. Stays on the magnet for a few seconds and falls down. Now, she didn't say what kind of rig she has. When she said it's non-slam baggage doors with magnets.
Mm-hmm.
So if you see what kind of a unit is that on?
It's just going to be like on I'm assuming like a travel trailer or something that just is not using a slam latch. So she's probably got regular thumb latches or something similar, and she's laying it up onto the magnets.
Oh, okay. So let's go back to the question that they work fine in warm weather, but when it gets cold, it won't stay open on the magnet. And part of that, I think, the thing that people don't realize when you get temperature changes, hot and cold temperature changes, all those materials expand and contract at different rates. And I know I've had doors that work absolutely fine when it's warm weather and it gets cold. Somehow the hinge moves, or there's, some of the hinges have a little rubber, kind of piping in it to try and keep them, from rusting and stuff like that. That rubber expands and contracts at different rates. And I know for a fact that when it's cold weather, the bulb seal around that is hard to get that door to shut. That's more on the slam ones, but I would say that if it doesn't stay, she says it won't stay open on the magnets, feel a slight resistance. Do magnets lose their magnetic properties in temperature changes?
Yeah, that I don't know. I've never heard of that. Like you're saying, though, the issue with it works in the warm and doesn't in the cold. Styrofoam expands and contracts too, and that door is 90% styrofoam.
Yep.
So, but replace. That's something to, I'm interested in that now. Whether they lose magnetism when it's cold.
We don't know down here because we don't get that cold of a weather.
Right, but we do. And the only other place I know on an RV that uses a magnet is the door, entrance door for the step.
Yeah,
you'll have a magnet in there, and I have never seen a difference between warm and cold in that operation. I mean, that's not as drastic of a magnet as you're using. So, I guess what I would recommend is just go down to any one of your home repair facilities, Ace Hardware, Hobby Lobby, and get a stronger magnet. You can get different poundage magnets, and I would bet, another thing maybe is the door is heavier. You get the
second magnet. I know a lot of times they'll put just one magnet, and that door is too heavy,
and you need
two. So
The other thing is put the old-fashioned chicken beak. We remember those? That's just a little hook that you put on the sidewall, and so after you break 2 or 3 of those, then you put another. But we call them chicken beaks because they had just this little beak, and I went on the road and I'd bring 100 of those with me because everybody broke those things. And I said, well, do you want to put the metal ones on? These were plastic. You put the metal ones on, and when you grab your door and open it up, you got a hole in the sidewall now instead of a broken chicken beak.
Yeah. We get a lot of issues with compartment doors, so we're always talking about putting 3 or 3 around the frame of the door, around like you were talking about the bulb seal to keep it nice and soft and conditioned.
Yep.
And then we get a lot of people that want to come in and they want to add those lift struts on the door, and a lot of them you can't because the doors are too thin. So
yeah, doors are too thin, or you don't have a mounting point. Yeah. You got to have a lip on those hydraulic struts to put down there that allows the door to close. You got to have enough of a clearance to be able to bring that down and have that closed with that bracket and the weight. Yeah. Okay, so we got Lee asked when you can change topics. So, sorry about that, Lee. Here we go. What's your opinion on kingpin locks?
Same thing as everything else. I mean, it's a great deterrent. Anything is a great deterrent. Yep. But if somebody wants to take something bad enough, they're going to take it. And where are you storing this unit at? Is it stuck in a storage yard? It's probably going to be less of a deterrent in a storage yard because it doesn't really matter. Now, if it's at your house, do you think that they're going to want you to hear them cutting through that to take that coach? Probably not. And it really depends on what kind. Like you're saying here, some are 69, some are 250. They make better ones. They make some that are literally like a pot metal and it's got a groove and you stick it up there and hook a lock in it. Or they make some that really connect and bolt up underneath. And that's obviously the way to go. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's all it is a deterrent. If somebody wants to take something, they're going to take it.
Yeah. Well, and there's, you also have to look at, like you say, the storage yard you're at, the place you're at, they have to have a fifth wheel hitch to go in and take that unit too, that matches that hitch and everything. So there's a lot of variables, but I guess if you're in an unsecure area that, I think it's probably best to go with the higher price unit. That's not as easy to take.
I've seen some of the coupler locks, and we've over the years have tried different versions, and some of them you can walk up with a hammer and just hit it once hard and it just lets loose.
Yep.
Like we'll usually sell that Fortress lock and put those on the A-frame couplers, but there's like Zach's saying, there's a bunch of different qualities. So it just depends on what you need. So a trick that I do, I like to take and put, a little laminated sign in the window of my door that says, hey, if you're going to break in, don't tear up my door. Just break the glass here, reach in and turn the lock to the left, And
Yep. My father-in-law had a 85 El Camino that he kept out in the driveway, and he had a nice radio inside of it, and he left it unlocked all the time. And I said, why is that? He says, I can always get a new radio. I don't want to replace windshields, windows, all this stuff. He says, nobody ever stole it. But, that it's the same way with, you put these security cameras that aren't really cameras. They got just a little blinking red light. And the more you can deter stuff, the better. But again, you have to kind of identify your area. So let's get to Terry here before we're going to do our thing. Terry's got a pretty good question on, he put a Moride safety handle on one of the big, large outside handles. Instructions are only put caulk in the pre-drilled holes. Should caulk be applied around the entire metal hardware?
You can do both. I would do both.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
Again, it's just another preventive maintenance,
100%. Yeah. Because eventually, just like putty tapes and butyls and all that stuff, the stuff you put behind there is going to go bad. Why not have the extra, just like you're doing on a window or a compartment door or anything else that has something behind it? You cap seal the top of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. My theory on it is not only, the pre-drill holes is fine, but those screws are typically not going to hit anything solid. They may hit something in because you're putting it in that sidewall and you're going to go through fiberglass and Luan. I mean, you look at that's your typical sidewall right here.
Yep.
Unless maybe, you have framework around the door that's close enough that you hit it. Eventually those screws are going to come loose. on that thing. And my theory on it is that if you put a good silicone sealant on that, and when you put it on and you cap seal it, that's going to help hold that tight, not only weatherproofing, but hold it tight against the sidewall, because it's like a solar panel. You put a solar panel up on the roof and, you put the screws in, you don't have a whole lot there, but if you silicone that up or sealant up that really good, that stuff will hold that in 70-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
So it helps add to the adhesion of that is my, and it doesn't hurt. Yeah. I don't know why they say just put it in the, in the caulk holes. But
I'm thinking that they're going back to referring, like if people put putty tape back behind it and the putty tape came out, that it's going to create a gap and block.
Yeah. Or if you put too much, I guess if you do drill holes and you put too much silicone in there and you put that in there, you're not going to get a good solid base on that, but just a good film of it to help hold in place.
Yeah.
So then he asks, since fiberglass, use what kind of caulk?
Yep.
Again,
silicone.
Yep.
Yeah. With that one, you want to use the non-self-leveling lap sealant, right? So,
you're talking about in the hole in the sidewall?
Yeah. So he says he's got fiberglass. So what kind of sealant would you use? Because we don't
use any of those.
Yeah. You want to use like a Boss silicone. You can use the Dicor cap sealant. You want to use something similar to that. Geocell.
Yeah. You could use like you could use like a non-sag.
Yes. I was going to say this would not be a good one because this is self-leveling and it's just going to blouse down, before you want something like, I think, Zach, you probably described it best, something like toothpaste. Mm-hmm. That when you apply it, it stays. And both of these are self-leveling. So neither one of these would be that good to use, in my opinion.
Yep.
Okay. So next one, we've got 2021 Grand Design Reflections, considering a 1/2-inch foam board to line the back of the cabinets to help insulate both from the heat and the cold. Any thoughts?
Yeah. So something that I like to do if you can, Larry, go underneath in your compartments and you're going to see your aluminum cross shafts. We go down and buy like the inch and a quarter styrofoam with like the silver backing on it. So it kind of blends in with the aluminum rails. We'll cut that. And whether we take like silicone or some spray glue, we'll cut it and we'll wedge that in there nice and tight. That's going to help the floor temperature from coming up. Go through the coach and make sure that there's any plumbing holes and stuff through the coach. Back in the day, we used to offer a service that was called the air intrusion service. It was air, dust, dirt, bugs, pests, whatever. We'd go through and pull all the covers and stuff loose throughout the coach and see where the manufacturer threw all the wires through, the pipes through, and foam and seal all that area off. But yeah, in the cabinets, you could take the time to take the drawers out and pack them back in there. But really, it's going to trap the temperature in there anyway. So I don't think it's going to give you what you're looking for.
Yeah, that would be my question is I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But why? Like, what's the
unless there's food or something in the
cabinet. If you're trying to like, hey, I'm fermenting this beer and I need to keep it a specific temperature up in this cabinet, I can see you doing something like that. But I just don't understand. You're not going to get as drastic of a result as I think you're thinking you are.
Yeah.
Well, I think probably, what I've seen when we get into cold temperatures is because you don't have good airflow inside an RV, you get these pockets, and especially in the cabinets, you open up the cabinets and it's almost freezing cold up in that cabinet because no heat got up into there. What I've done in some of the cases with places that I've wanted to get a little better airflow in there, either leave the door cracked a little bit to let that come in, or I've actually drilled a hole in the bottom and put a vent in that to allow that to get up, and get some air movement in it. Just a small little, you can buy these, these little air vent things that you can move around at auto stores and places like that, or a small little register type thing. But I think that's probably what he's talking about is they get really, really hot in the summertime, because you will lose some of your heat in the wintertime in those upper cabinets just because you don't have good
flow.
Yeah. So a couple things that what I like to do when we remodel coaches or we're repairing them is I'll do exactly that, Larry. On a fifth wheel, I'll go back in and I'll cut that styrofoam and put it up underneath the floor. I'll retape all my ductwork, and then they make a bagged insulation. So the cheap airflow bags that we put in the RVs, they're non-insulated. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or Ace, and you can get a double bagged insulated, same size, 3-inch, 6-inch hose, and replace those. That'll help keep it warmer and stuff inside. It'll help not lose temperature on the air that you're putting in there, whether it be cool or hot air. Sometimes in the summertime, around the regular vent lids, when we take down the beauty ring from the inside, the garnish and the beauty ring, some of the ceilings are all pocketed open. We'll even take and fill those up with insulation or foam to block the air from losing it in the ceiling itself, which helps, heat rises, so it's going to escape through the roof that way too.
Yep.
Sometimes when you see those bubbles and lifts on the membrane on the roof, and you crawl up, you're like, why is this long line all the way across? It's because the air inside, the pressure's pushing up and letting it escape.
Yep. But I think you're right. You're not going to see a drastic, people come in, and I was looking here somewhere. I got a roll of Reflex. I think it's called Reflect It. And it is the silver lined insulation stuff. Use it for windows and things like that. But, if you put it into a cabinet, I don't think you're going to see much of a difference in temperature changing in those. It's more getting a little bit of airflow, because you got 1.5 inches of block foam insulation already all around that thing, and putting that little piece in there. In fact, there's a lot of manufacturers that will build this roof structure like this, and this has an R19 the way it is right now, and they'll add that Reflectix material or a space blanket, they call it, on the top of it, and claim it has an R45. And the thing is you cannot measure R factor, but there's no way you can prove it. So they can say anything they want to. And I did some research, and I talked to a lot of different manufacturers and engineers and guys that are HVAC guys. And they said, by putting one thin layer of that stuff on there, you're not going to change the R factor, maybe 0.25, if that at all, because you have to have air gaps in those things. Mm-hmm. And the only way you get additional R factor out of a roof with that reflected stuff is that if you put a 2-inch air gap and then you raise it by 2 R factor degrees or what, and it's just,
whenever I see that thin blanket material down in the bottom of the underbellies and they say it's insulated, and that's
the whole thing, because they could say it's insulated. That's what they do. Yeah. I remember when I was working at Winnebago, we brought out the Super Chief, and we were having the basements were freezing like crazy in these things at 20 degrees, and it was like, so I called up the engineer who eventually became the president of Winnebago, and I said, we advertise these things as heated basements. He said, well, we heat them, but we don't heat them to keep them from freezing. That was his answer, I swear. And I'm just like, really? I said, well, you claim to have insulated compartment doors, but there were 2 pieces of fiberglass.
Yeah.
Or outside fiberglass and inside paneling. There was air in between them. There was no foam insulation in it. But his theory on that was air is an insulator. And so technically, yes, realistically,
put a ducting tube down in there off the furnace.
Yeah.
One ducting tube for a whole run,
laying in
just there. Laying or crushed in there. And we're like,
well, and again, you go back to there's no cold air return. There's no air movement, HVAC type design in those things. So you got one thing ducted down here. You got all these pockets in there. I've froze up so many of those units because the water line is as big as your finger, and you get a good hard, cold temperature coming in from the side of it. And I won't say windshield because I got blasted with the windshield. Doesn't make it any colder. It just feels colder in there. But, so, it's just, those are the things that they can say anything they want to when it's almost impossible for the average person to verify any of that. I see guys, and I do this walking around at the show. I hear some of the salesmen say, "Oh, this is great for the winter. You got an R45 in the sidewall and R65 in the roof." And if you had that, you would have no room to walk inside that coach.
Yeah. Now, maybe like he's saying in his poster, the heat on the cabinets, right? So if it is a heat and you're going to insulate it, you could probably get a thinner insulation to put back in there and cut it out to see if that helps.
Yeah. I would say you're probably going to have better results by going up on the top and putting, one of the roof materials that has some
coating,
they've got more reflective, some acrylic stuff in some of the, you see them in school buses all the time now. They got the white acrylic coating on the top because they heat those things up like crazy.
We'll have 30 amp unit coaches that'll come in on the roofs and they're wanting to add a second AC, and we're like, it's not wired for it, and we're gonna have to convert you over to 50 amp. And a lot of times what we'll do is we will, depending on the type of roof, whether it's a fiberglass roof or TPO or rubber roof, some of those properties like you're talking about will reduce the temperature by 20 to 30%.
Yep.
So they work really good. So even if you have a brand new roof and you're thinking about, hey, I want to get away from the maintenance, I want to, as long as my sealants are still good, you can coat those roofs and that will reduce the interior temperature of it.
Yep. It is time for the giveaway, #radio. And I think Ashley has got that over there. So we are going to run the Vanna. Would you roll the wheel for us? I'd like to buy a vowel.
And Les, congratulations.
Right. Les won the radio. If you will email editor@rvtravel.com and get your mailing address, then Chuck will send that out to you. And let's see, where did we land on here? Probably, I'm headed for
I believe the last one says probably music. Yeah.
All right. So Lee says, and we got about 5 minutes here. It says, I'm a newbie headed from Minnesota to Florida March. Any thoughts and tips on de-winterizing on the way down? And you guys don't get that a lot, so I will take that one. In fact, I just wrote an article. If you look at, I think it was last week, somebody asked about, you've got the portable air compressors out there. There's Viair is one that's very popular with people out there. It's a little 12 volt that you can use to blow out the antifreeze. If you have, or blow out the water in the system, if you have a winterizing tube in there, then it's a tube that comes off your water pump. So basically what you do is you drain your freshwater tanks, unless they're above floor level. That's the thing you got to realize about these units. If you're going to be traveling and this even happens in the summer and the spring. If you're traveling around the mountains, you can hit freezing weather in the mountains just about any time of the year. So, all of a sudden you come into some part of the country that it's boom, you hit a storm coming around the other side of the mountain and you've got freezing temperatures. If your water lines are above floor level and your water tank's above floor level, then that heater keeps those pretty much protected in that area. But like you said, if they're under the ground and you've got one heat duct that goes down there, I would not trust that.
Yeah. No.
So you either got to blow the water system out or you got to add antifreeze. And typically the RVers that I've seen that travel a lot, the full-time, that go in and out of cold weather and stuff, they will use RV antifreeze.
Yeah, he's talking about de-winterizing it, though.
Let me back up. De-winterize is easy, depending on if you used RV antifreeze, then you just fill up your freshwater tank and you run it till the pink's gone.
Yep.
That's the easiest thing to do. So, yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
You go through the toilet and all the other.
We like hearing you talk, Dave.
That's it. Okay. We got
Marcia.
Are the vents on the stair risers inside a fifth wheel for air intake?
So
some of them.
Yeah, it depends. Some of them where like you're stepping up and they just have that fake wooden floor grate.
Round or floor grate.
Yeah, some of them are. Depends where the furnace is and how the intake is set up for the furnace. Some of them are heated basements, just like the ones with the ducts that come down. So you're heating the inside. It's also heating the bottom down there. Yeah. It really just depends.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the best thing to do is open up the compartment on the back side of where that stair is at. And you probably will see most of those are just open grates that allow warm air to come from the living inside where your furnace is heating and getting into that front compartment and at least providing some air in there. A lot of times I see it where the batteries are stored on a fifth wheel. And that way you kind of keeps that battery compartment, not the battery compartment, excuse me, the like hydraulic pump and stuff, because your battery compartment's got to be vented. And you don't want that coming into the coach, but usually that's a cheap way of getting heat.
Well, they have water lines and other stuff that are down there, so whatever they can do to try to keep it, they're going to.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Larry's back, and he says, "Wait till next week. Sun shining on the refrigerator vent fixes." So Larry, I got all kinds of fixes for that. Yep. If you go on the Grand Design RV, what's in the shop, and up in the upper left-hand corner, there's a little 3 bars. Click in that, and you're going to see a whole bunch of photo albums. Go down until you find the one that says like refrigerator or fan vent issues, and you'll see pictures of stuff where we've added fans, adjusted the baffling, played with all kinds of stuff in the back.
That's pretty common. Yeah,
pretty common. We see it all the time. So basically, the refrigerators, Dave, that are in a slide out, depending on how the manufacturer set them in there, sometimes we'll open them up and they're a foot away from the wall. Sometimes they're right up against the wall.
The baffle's in the wrong place or it's missing, adding additional fans. There's times where the refrigerator rooftop vent is sitting too low on ones that aren't in a slide out and it's not allowing enough air to come out. An extraction refrigerator has to have airflow to, cool down that ammonia that's in the back. But yeah, we can jump on that a little bit more later.
Yeah. So we're getting some music, but I want to do one more thing that I think is pretty important that Terry just brought up. Blue Streak or Unique RV Digest It. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, actually, we've used the RV Digest It a few times for tanks that are super stubborn, and stuff seems to work really well. So
okay, all right. I'm a big believer in Tank Blaster. From Thetford. They've been in the business for years and years. One of the things you find when times are really good and the market's flying in the RV industry, you get a lot of people jumping in that haven't been in for a long time. And I've never used those products, but I would say I'd like to get some of that and try it sometime and use it a little bit. So anyway, all right. Well, it looks like we are running out of time. We've got the music for the Academy Awards, or they'd be the Emmys, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So,
did I win an Emmy this year? Actually, I think Zach won an Emmy for his rendition of LaGrange from the ZZ Top. It must been rounds. We keep giving Zach a hard time. So thank you, everybody. Snoopy, we appreciate it. We will get on that Go Power this week or next week, and keep sending your questions in. And we look forward next week. Dustin, you're going to be, it's your Ashley's birthday, isn't it?
Yep. She's real good about that too. Her birthday is the day after Valentine's Day. So she's very critical on, I need a Valentine's Day card and I need a birthday card. Something for each.
I see. Right? Okay.
Rating the two holidays. So she's born one day after Valentine's Day.
So I can get you in real trouble here. How old is she?
She's a lot younger than me.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a great week. For those of us up in the Midwest where it is actually 30 plus degrees, hit 40 today on my way, drive back down. Enjoy the warm weather, and we will see you guys back here next week. Zach will be taking care of the shop. Are you going to join us? Or
yeah, I mean, it all depends upon how it goes and how the day is in reality. If these guys aren't here and I'm having to run everything, we'll
yep. And we're gonna get in touch with a couple of our writers from RV Travel too, and see if they can join us and maybe do some specific stuff like boondocking or something like that. So look forward to seeing everybody next week, and thanks for joining us. Have a great week. Thank you
so much for joining us on today's live stream. If you think today's content was helpful, Let us know by hitting the like button or share it with a friend.
We'll be right back here next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We hope to see you then.